Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I know you know that. Folks, I just like to remind myself how grateful I am to be sitting in this chair. I only get to sit over here because of everything that you're doing, folks. You're out there liking, subscribing, listening. We're pushing out content as hard as we can right now, trying to keep up with your demands because you just keep eating it up. So I'm doing my best to feed you, but I want to make sure that you guys understand that I am absolutely maintaining the idea that we're not going to bring you just anything. If someone's on this program, it's because they matter. It's because they have a message, and it's because, I have handpicked them to be here because I think that you're going to love the message and you're going to get something out of it. I promise we're not going to fill you with filler at any point. All right. So hang in there, keep doing what you're doing, and please know that I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart. Now, if you're a friend of the program, and I'm sure that you are, well, let me just say it's time to take a sip of our preferred beverage. So here we go. Good every time. Oh my goodness, fantastic stuff. And you know what we're drinking? That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up and check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. You guys all know that already. And some of you have actually seen her and commented on it. I love that. That's cool. Yeah, thanks. But just like my wife, folks, they brew a mean bean. That's a fantastic cup of joe, and they do all the right things for all the right reasons, including supporting veterans, which you all know is incredibly important to us here at the Power of Man. Today is actually Veterans Day as we record this. So let me just say from the bottom of my heart to my guest today and to every man and woman who's ever served in any capacity, to you and to your families, I am grateful. We are grateful here at the Power of Man. We don't get to have an opinion and do what we're doing if you haven't gone out and done what you are doing on a regular basis and what you've done. Folks, grateful for you. And so is Freedom Hill Coffee. So look them up, check them out at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them that Power of Man sent you. Let me get one more sip of this so I can keep up with this young buck on the other side of the table from me because he's about to run some circles around me, I have a feeling. Man, good stuff. All right, we're going to be drinking that throughout. All right, here we go, folks. Please welcome to the show. He's a husband and he's a father of three daughters. So I already have mad respect for this guy. I don't know if I could have done that, but he's killing it. He's got three daughters. He's active duty Air Force. Perfect guy to have on our program. And he's also the host of the new hit podcast, The Daughtered Podcast, which isn't really new. I mean, it passed their second season. They're 60 episodes in. Folks, please welcome to the show, Oscar Pena. Oscar, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Rory? How's it going, man?
Better than I deserve, but I'm getting used to it, and we're
Good.
we're getting through it. Three daughters.
Three daughters. That's right.
Wow. I have one,
The-
man. One. And I got to tell you, power to you and all the blessings in the world that you have
yeah.
three daughters, man.
I always say the Lord is either bless me or curse me, or somewhere in the middle. But I'm there.
As long as you have the Lord on your side, because with three daughters, I bet you need it.
That's right.
But that's amazing, man. Listen, Oscar, you're active duty Air Force military. You're husband. You're a father. You're doing a podcast. We have a ton that we get to talk about today. Give everybody a little bit of an idea, though, maybe about your background. A little bit about your story. Who is Oscar Pena? What brings you here today, and what got you into all this in the first place?
Well, man. Everybody in my show has heard it. I am the knuckle draggers of knuckle draggers. So when I growing up, I was just that kid, right? Busy, not sitting around, moving around, knucklehead, getting in trouble, just being a boy. So having girls has been a complete and utter 180-degree learning curve for me. As you mentioned, I'm active duty. My wife and I have been married for 22 years. She's been with me through all of it.
Congratulations. That's so
Surprised
cool.
her and thank you.
Yeah.
She's I mean that's all the credit goes to her. I don't know how she sticks around with this guy, but nevertheless, work to be of service to her. And so married for a long time, active duty for a pretty long time now. My kids all came in within the last 13 years. So my wife and I were married 8.5 years. Talked about kids, but never really I should say I never really thought the kid thing through, right?
Hmm.
Um and yeah, 8.5 years later, my first daughter got to us, and I did what any other parent does, man. Try to figure out a playbook, try to get a checklist, figure out how to do this thing. And then for me, I mean, I'm having a daughter, so now I'm completely and utterly lost. How do I raise that, right?
Right.
Um, and well, we did. We kept her alive. That's what I always tell my mother-in-law, right? She's like, "Oh, look, she's getting so big." I know, who knew? We can keep him alive. And so that was a win. But I joke like that because I think, it, especially now talking to a lot of the dads that come on the show, I don't think I was fully there, right? Like I went into what we know historically as dad mode, which is, all right, I'm having a kid, I'm going to provide. Figure out how to provide. They're going to need XYZ. That's what I'm doing. And that's about it. Um, Aside from my job taking me away from home a lot, I almost, I think, hid in my work. And it was busy work. It was a lot of work, and I hid in it because I just didn't. I mean, I didn't know. My wife and I have these conversations all the time. I used to tell her, I used to look at her and be like, "Why is she crying? I did the checklist. She's fed. She's changed, right? She slept. Like, what is going on? It just didn't never occur to me all these other things that I, as a man, as her father, needed to provide for her.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish I could tell you that I learned that quickly, but I didn't. I missed a lot of her life due to my job, and then also due to my absence when I was actually with her. And then my second daughter came in. I was with her a little bit more. My job wasn't as demanding, but still the same concept. I was there. I would change diapers. Of I would be of quote unquote help to my wife and just do what I thought I was supposed to do. And don't get me wrong, there's great times in between there, right? I mean, they're amazing girls and they really do change a lot of you, and I'm sure you know that. But it wasn't until my third daughter came in 2020 during COVID where now I'm home, right? Everybody's home. We're stuck.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that year, it just dawned on me. I'm like, I've spent so much time with this little thing. It's been great. I've learned to be better for her because of her other two siblings. And now I realize, oh man, I've missed so much of what I could have provided my daughters. Like, how much have I not given them? How much have I taken from them because of my lack of presence? Right. And that's really when it hit me. And ever since then, my daughter was born August 2020. And I can tell you with certainty that ever since then, it's just been a weight on my shoulders, particularly with my oldest. How much did I not give her? Um, sure, I
Hmm.
provided, I brought home a paycheck. I changed her diapers. Did what I thought I needed to do, but it just became a huge weight on my shoulders, that I carry now. And that was the genesis of ultimately where the podcast came from. Trying to start to shorten the curve of that. And so that's where we're at.
Wow, man. There you unpack so much right there. It's not even funny. The First of all, I want to give you all the credit in the world, and I hope at some point you could find a way to give yourself some grace. Too many men don't do the first part. They don't jump in and go, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to physically be here and
Yep.
I'm going to provide and I'm going to protect. Okay. I'm going to lead. These are important things. And right there is where a lot of men fall down, is just on the entry level.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you did that. You were there. All right. You can't criticize yourself for how you didn't show up emotionally.
Right.
And, if you weren't already there physically. See, you did a huge, huge first step, brother. I hope you can give yourself a little bit of grace for that.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the only people who care about whether or not uh, we are good men is us.
Right.
Okay. We are the ones who push ourselves to be better. 99% of parenting, and I've said this in my podcast for years, is giving a damn.
Right.
99% of being a better dad is wanting to be a better dad. So many men are like full of excuses. and they hide in their jobs. And then when anybody brings up, hey, you're not really connecting with your kid, they go, well, but, I have this and I have that. And I got to,
Right.
my cup has to be filled before I can fill anybody else's and all of this other crap that they talk about, right?
Right.
You're actually sitting here talking about how you were beating yourself up for that. So all that tells everybody right off the bat, before they even really know you, is that your self standard is incredibly high.
Yep.
That's going to serve your family, brother. So make sure you give yourself a little bit of credit for that. All right.
All right.
Just as we move
I'll
forward.
write that one down
All
for
right.
later.
Please do. All right. When I was reading, a little bit about your story, you kind of broke it down a little bit, and it was like, with the first one, this is where I was, and you just kind of talked about that here.
Mm,
With the second one, I started to kind of realize, hey, I'm not really doing this right.
yep.
How do I do this right? Okay. And by the third one, you were like, all right, I'm trying to do this right. I'm trying to get better at it. And then you said something about understanding the importance of community.
Mm.
What did you mean by that? Maybe you can talk to
Well,
that.
let's face it, man. We, as much as we have, I think it's currently men's mental health month or something like that. I don't know why we make these months, but nevertheless, like it's there, right? Um, and I saw I saw this post. I can't remember the dude's name right now, but he mentioned that uh there's this whole thing about men not opening up enough to the mental health community and blah 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 blah. Dude, we're dudes, right? We put ourselves in silos all the time.
Right.
It's just what we do sometimes, right? We put our head down and we get to work. For me, that was 2012 when my daughter got when we knew we were having a daughter. I'm like, all right, put your head down, get to work, right? Because you have to again fulfill these checklist items like they need a crib, they need this, they need that, and all the things that we need to cover for sure. But there's so much more, right? And that's what I'm learning more and more. I never went out to community. And I'll tell you this, I definitely went to books. I was like, I got to start reading. Like,
Hmm.
again, I'm, I'm a military dude. So I'm like, well, there's got to be a freaking manual somewhere, right? There's
Right.
got to be a manual that tells me how to do this thing. Again, I have the news of having a daughter. I'm a dude. Like, how do I raise a little girl? I don't know how to do that. And one thing I always mention, I should probably mention more in the podcast, I should say, obviously I leaned and lean on my wife a lot, right? So when I'm like putting it on me, it's because that's the only thing I can control, right? And so that was where I was at is all right, I'm gonna go read these books, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. Well, man, although the books are good and they give you some perspective, that's not community and that's academia. And I know that some authors will write them in experience. So don't get me wrong, but it's still just these theories that there's no manual for your kids, right? What I found way more helpful as I now know with the podcast is the community of men that are like, oh yeah, I did that, or oh yeah, I went there. Oh, let me tell you about my situation, and you're like, oh okay. And so to your point, we have to be cautious of it, I think, but with community, you almost allow yourself to get a little credit because the community will tell you, "Hey, you think you're sucking? Let me tell you, this is fatherhood. Like, let's just do better tomorrow." Right? And so you're able to get a little bit of grace and you're able to get some real life experience.
Yep.
And when I talk to some of the guys on the show, that's what they bring, right? Literal experience. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, yesterday, let me tell you what happened." And then the guy on the other side of whatever device is protruding the information is like, oh, dude, I'm about to go through that, or I just did that. I didn't have that when I was growing up as a dad. I just never went to it.
Right.
Right? It's 2012 podcast. I think started in like 2005 or six. So they were there. I didn't go to it. I didn't
Right.
go to a community. And ironically, at the time in my career, I was in a job that was very team mindset, right? Because my team, we were always out, we were always busy, deployed, and doing things. And yet, I don't think I ever had a conversation with any of my teammates about my struggles as a father,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't see the community part of that important. As I've grown now as a father, and especially with the podcast, like I remember, I think like month number 3 of the podcast, it just like this bright light went on in my head, and I was like, dude, I've been missing the community. I've been missing this, right? And you mentioned in one of your shows, like the feedback that comes to you, good and bad, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
get it, and it's all perspective. And so even just that little bit of the side of community where guys are giving us feedback and saying, "Hey, what you said, that's bullcrap. Here's why. This is what's going on." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think of that. That's great. Thanks for
Right.
that." Right? Um, that's what I think what community does, and to have a community of dads that can talk through some of these things and almost like mastermind certain problems that you have. That it's kind of a game changer that I never realized was out there.
Yeah. It's huge. I'm really glad that you found that, and that it's come to you that way because it doesn't. So many men
Yeah.
don't ever get that idea in their heads. Um, Now, I admire the fact that you're doing your podcast in with the idea that you're sharing from your own, history, and you're trying to say, "Hey, I made these mistakes. Listen to me. Don't make these same mistakes." And that's exactly how I started mine. So I feel like I'm kind of a kindred spirit with you a little bit there.
Right.
It really isn't about saying, "Hey, we know better." It's going, "Look, I made these mistakes. Try to
Yep.
listen to this so you don't end up with the same scar."
Right.
That's all. So I love that. But you're going on this journey, okay, with all 3 of your kids, and it's sort of a different stage of your journey with each child that comes along. It sounds like,
Mm.
which makes total sense. And you're doing the self, inspection, and you're checking yourself out and going, "All right, where can I get better? How can I do this
Right.
better?" At some point, though, you say to yourself, or someone else says to you, I need to project this out
Mm.
to other men and say, how can I help them? I have my story, and
Yeah.
so on. Everybody has theirs. But what's your story of turning it from looking within to say, how can I be better,
Yeah.
to looking without and going, hey, guys, I didn't have any help. Maybe I can help you. What,
Yeah.
what, what caused that? What put you on the mic?
Man, I honestly can't pinpoint it. I can tell you that it was my buddy and I who started the podcast. We would just have these conversations. We'd get on the phone and then we'd rant about some issue we're having. And he has 2 daughters, and they were a little bit younger, but I have one that's about their age. And so I would be like, "Oh yeah, when my daughter was that age, like this is what we would do." And we would be going back and forth. And I've been part of the Fuel Hunt community for a long time. Fuel Hunt is it's a great company,
Yep.
but also has an amazing community of people that are just trying to work and be better every day. Um, and I would see these things pop up, and one of my guests ended up being one of our first guests. Um, had mentioned in this social media post was like, is there any place for dads to go and like ask and talk? And I was like, dude, that's what we're doing right now. So odds are what we're discussing and what we're struggling with and what we need, other men need too, right? And I struggled with that because this is we talked before we hit record, like this is not my thing, right? Like I mean talking is good, but this whole social media thing and the podcasting and the editing and like all that, man, craziness to me, right? um but I started to feel in my heart like, all right, I'm here to serve. I was put on this earth to serve. I want to do the best ever to serve my family, my daughters, my wife. um but also, why can't I serve other men that may be in that situation? That other, 27-year-old dude, 25-year-old dude that's about to have a daughter that thinks, how am I going to do this? And that's really where that stemmed from, is those conversations, and then those little like sparks that you would see a man or a dude asking for that, like, hey, is there any place where you guys know of where we can have these conversations? And I was like, they should be. And if I can, I should, right? So then that's what we're doing. And so that's kind of how it started. And for at first, in full transparency, it was analysis by paralysis. We're like, we can't start it yet because we got to get, the website and the thing and the another thing. And I mean, it was just we sat on it for a long time until finally one day another one of those posts came through, and we're like, all right, there's no reason why we can't do this. We got to just start. And I mean, now, you need a mic, some internet, and a camera. It's like, well, all right, let's give us a shot, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And we're here.
Nice. I love the story. Now your co-host is no longer with you. You're doing the podcast yourself now. It's a solo operation.
Correct. Yep. That's
Okay.
right.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. And let's see. The I mean, you've got a lot of downloads. Tell me about how the podcast has gone for you since you started it. I mean, you start any podcast and you're basically in the dark in a closet. You put a few episodes out and you hope somebody sees it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how it goes. But how did that work for you guys? What'd you do with the podcast? How'd you kind of get things going? What was your thought process there, and what'd you want to use it for?
Dude, it was the most rudimentary process you could think of. I mean, I was just like, again, I'm the knuckle dragger. So I'm like, how, going to the internet, how do you start this? Where do you post it? Where do you do this thing? Um, the response started to just tell us that it was good, right? The responses of dudes getting on there and be like, hey, I was just thinking of that the other day. And thanks, that helped. Those little things. But I mean, honestly, I got a little selfish. I was like, dude, I'm learning so much. Like, I mean, right? And the reason, there's a couple reasons why I thought that this needed to happen as well. And those are personal reasons. One, uh, anybody can go at any time, but in my line of profession, sometimes you're reminded a little bit faster than other times. And I was like, man, I want my daughters, like, even if I continue to suck and not get as good as I want to get for them, I want them to have something to go back to, right? I want them to be able to, when I'm gone, they can go and listen and be like, oh, he was thinking of us. He was thinking of that situation that we had. Like, I want them to know that. And so it was a way to leave something behind. I'm not, you know, odds are I'm not writing a book because again, like that's just not my thing. Like those things that other men and or parents leave behind for their kids, like that's not the thing. So I was like, I want them to have something. Two, I realized that my oldest, unbeknownst to her, has been my coach the entire time. As for any parent, your first child is literally teaching you how to be a parent by the minute, right?
Right.
It is what it is, and
Yeah.
and it sucks they didn't get to choose that, but that's where it's at.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was a better parent for my other two daughters because of her every minute of the day. Oh, I jacked this up with her. Don't do that with them. Got it. Right. And so I'm a learning monkey kind of thing, right?
Right.
But that weight that they talked about earlier was really because of how I'm with her and realize how do I stop sucking so much with her and also get better for the other two. Don't get me wrong, but how do I do that for her? Because we've had conversations, her and I, where I just apologize and I tell her, hey, I'm still learning from you, and odds are what you see your sisters get is not what you got, and you're probably sitting there thinking, what the heck, man, right? And and I tell her like that's the truth. That's what happens. And I want to get better for you, but that's you know, you're the trial, and then they get the better product, unfortunately. And so that's one of my major goals is how do I shorten that curve, that learning curve with me and my oldest, so that I'm better for her as well.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's that's how it all got going. And again, this uncomfortable venture told me that this is the place I needed to be. I always preach to my daughters, be uncomfortable and do things. Well, here we are. And so
Right.
there was no way for me to quit that after.
Yeah. Now you're dropping a lot of truth right now, for sure. How old are your daughters?
I have a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Nice.
So
All
I'll be
right.
a high school dad for 12 years because of the spread out.
Yeah, you did it to yourself. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
You did. But I did the same thing. So I had a huge gap between my first and second. So I understand
Yeah.
exactly what you're dealing with. 13 years old is, and I remember my daughter at 13. And I mean, that's an age. You and your daughter, I know you talk, about some of these things.
Mhm.
Do you feel like she feels like you mess things up, or do you feel like you really feel like you mess things up? And you're because I know there's an apology type feeling to everything
Right.
with your oldest. I've
Yep.
I've felt it too, but I've also often felt like she's been like, Dad, what are you talking about? I didn't
Yeah.
feel that way, but I feel that way. So do you
Yep.
feel like it's coming from her or from you? And have you had those talks?
We have had those talks, but you're right. It's mostly on my side. I always think that what I'm telling her, what I'm feeling, she'll eventually feel in therapy. Like I'm like, I'm just creating this bill of therapy for you. But I try not to, right? That's the whole point of trying to fix it in the moment of just saying, hey, yep, you were right. My bad. Like that was not good. Or sometimes we'll go out and get ice cream or just go for a drive and I'll just be thinking of things and I'll tell her and she'll be like, oh, I didn't think that at all. I'm like, well, let me tell you why I think that, right? So that you know that that I was thinking of that.
Hmm.
And so for me, jokingly, but maybe seriously, I don't know because I don't know that whole process, but it's a way for me to almost try to therapy it out between her and I right there, and for her to know that it wasn't like whatever that negative dad thing I did was not intentional. It wasn't towards her, because we've had conversations where she'll tell me, "Hey, you seem to treat them better in certain situations than you did me." I was like, "You're right, right?" Um, but a lot of us are like, "No, no, no, we love each other. We love you all equally." And yes, that's our love is huge for them. I don't think it's equal. I think it's different for each one, and I'm sure like we'd like to say that up front when our kids aren't really grown yet, but now you're like, I have to love you a little bit different than I have to love her because she's a different person and then she's a different person. And so a lot of that is on me. Um, and we've had those conversations where she'll say, no, no, I didn't even realize that. But I still think it's important to have the conversation and to be open with my daughter.
Good. Good. You're very aware, and I love that about you. As we've talked even before the recording started, you're very aware, and you've worked on that awareness with yourself. So that's
Mm,
impressive. I don't want to give you kudos for that. Um,
thank you.
a lot of guys can get to certain points along the way, and then we kind of get hung up. One place I've seen a lot of guys get hung up, and maybe you can speak to this, is while we're on our apology tours.
Hmm.
We're looking at ourselves going, man, I messed this up. I messed this up. And you're trying to make things right with the older one. You do still have to be a father and
Yep.
you have to still be, a disciplinarian and you have to, be a leader and a protector and a provider.
Yeah.
And so, kids are very smart these days. I've seen kids kind of manipulate that. And then I've
Right.
also seen it kind of run into where the dad is the one who just has the problem, dishing out discipline then when it's needed. Have you found
Right.
yourself kind of second guessing how you handle your older one now that you've become so enlightened with the younger ones?
Um, that's a great question, man. I think I've been able to decipher the method as opposed to the action.
Hmm.
Meaning, I may have like lost it for whatever reason, as we all, I'm sure, do, right? And in the apology phase, after everything's kind of settled, um, I like to call it wings level, right? Like everybody's like chill, start thinking about it, and I'll go in there. But before I go in and talk to her, I will make sure that I got my story straight. And what I mean by that is a lot of times I'll go in there and say, listen, what I told you needed to be told to you. How I told you probably didn't need to go. Right. So
Hmm.
my parenting or my discipline at that moment could have been done differently, but it needed to be done one way or the other. Here's my apology for my emotional reaction. I'm not apologizing for telling you that you did XYZ and oh by the way you're grounded, but maybe I could have handled that better, right? that's where I try to decipher between like being in apology mode all the time. Because trust me, I screw up a lot, but ensuring that the message is still there, right? Um, and I just think it could be done differently. You had someone on your show recently talking about stoicism,
Hmm.
and I I'm a I like stoicism. I like the thought of being able to be in full control of my emotions at all times. Do I do it all the time? Absolutely not. Like I'm a dad of three girls, so come
Right.
at me if you want. It's just happens, right?
Right.
But I think it's important, one, to be able to show that as much as possible, and two, to apologize for the outburst of emotion, and not take away from the lesson that needed to be taught at that moment. Does that kind of
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. You're aware of it. And so you're aware that you're already going into that situation with her, treating her differently a little bit.
Yeah,
So, I mean, again, awareness is huge. Just knowing that you have to deal with it.
yeah,
Because, and the idea that we're never going to get upset about something is,
insane.
it's, wonderful to think. But,
Yeah,
come on. If you have enough testosterone in your body to be a leader and a protector and a provider, then you're going to get mad once in a while.
yeah.
It's just, that's what happens. So,
Well, and we're also human, and they're
yeah,
mirrors of us. They turn a mirror to you, brother.
there you go.
So as soon as that mirror hits you, and you're like, it hits that ego, and it's there. Everybody has it. It hits that ego, and it's like that. That's where I try to make sure, especially bouncing off my wife. I'll be like, was I off? And she'll be like, yeah, you were off on that, right? Because I almost feel it, right? If I say something or do something in a certain manner, it's like, is it because I got pissed about me? Like there's something that reflected on me. And I don't like to use the word trigger because everybody uses it now.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
with you.
saying, like, right? So like, I'm just saying, like, she mirrored me something that I didn't like. And that's my problem.
Right.
And that's why I really do try to use language properly in the sense of like, hey, I'm mad right now, not you made me mad. Because that's they're not responsible for my emotional anything, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, and so I try to mirror that again, probably poorly because I'm a dude and their mirrors are really, really clean and shiny, so it comes across sometimes. But but I think it's important to realize that, and I think it's important for men, as you mentioned, like yeah, we're all going to lose it sometimes, and we're all going to get upset. And one thing that I found is I tend to get the most upset or the most emotional when I'm afraid of something. So like I don't show my daughter's fear, but it comes out as like, volume and anger. Right. And what I mean by that is we had a situation one time where my daughter did something. It was clearly unsafe and not necessarily in like you're gonna get physically hurt, but potentially, the wrong people in the wrong space. And thinking back again, 20 hindsight's 2020. So thinking back, you're like, oh, I could have definitely, I should have just did this instead. But in the moment, my fear of that situation came out as straight up like anger, right? And I've in talking to guys on the show now and having that community, I've learned that that's what we tend to do,
Yeah.
right? We tend to not necessarily show the fear, but it's there, fear, anxiety, or something else, and it'll come out as a different form, especially with our kids. A lot of times with our wives as well, right? Like we portray something out that wasn't actually what we were feeling, but it takes some time for us to think about that. And the best of us can think before that happens and be like, okay, wait a minute, I'm just a little bit afraid of this, and they can voice that. I'm getting better at that, but it's still something that I'm aware of. Like it's those moments where either the mirror got real shiny and and it showed you something that you didn't like about yourself, or two, you have this fear, anxiety, sensation of wanting to be to keep them safe that it comes out as something else.
Nice. Nice. I love the way you're putting this together. I mean, I really, really, really do. And you can tell you're a podcaster because you already started going into a direction that I was going, and
You're welcome.
which is great. You're building the segues for me. I mean, if I'd have known this was going to be this easy, I would have brought a sandwich with me. It would have
There you
been just
go.
fine. But you brought up your wife a couple of times, and so I want to just say again, 22 years is an unbelievable achievement in today's world.
Yep.
It takes a lot of work from both parties, so congratulations to both of you on that
Thank you.
achievement because it's magnificent. We need a lot more of that in today's world.
Yeah.
Um, if I were to ask your wife, okay, if your wife were to jump on the podcast,
Oh
and,
boy.
and you were in the other room, right? And I was to ask your wife, hey, tell me about Oscar and tell me about what he used to be like and what he's like today. What's the difference between the two? And, how do you think he's doing now? What kind of answers am I going to get from her? What's she going to
Oh
tell
boy.
me in confidence where you can't even hear it, like the
Right.
truth?
I made her sign an NDA so she can't talk about me anyway. Now that I'm a podcaster. I'm just kidding.
Right on.
Um, man, that's a great question. I think I have a hard time answering that because my view of me is so much different than her view of me.
Hmm.
And I think across the board, if you have that partner that truly sees you, their view of you is is a completely different color than what you have in your mind, right? Because I'm in my brain, like I'm constantly just I want to figure out how to do better today, right? How did yesterday go? Let's do that better. Yeah, and I'm talking about like again, rudimentary, man. So what happened with my 9-year-old yesterday needs to get better today. Like I need to be able to react better today. That's one thing, right? So it's like one thing at a time. So if you take one thing at a time and all the things that we have to do, that's what fills my brain, right? So I'm constantly thinking, I'm just not good enough for them. Like I need to serve them better. And I don't know what my wife would say, but having talked to other now having had some women on the podcast, they have given some of that light, right? They have said like, "Oh no, I constantly have to remind my husband that no, you're doing good, right? Like it's you did good." And I think she would probably find that she sometimes sits me down and she'd be like, "You need to calm down. It's fine. You're fine. She's fine." Right? Like I just don't know what her complete answer would be. I'm actually kind of curious. Uh, maybe a little spoiler alert, and I hope it's not a problem to put it out here, but season 3, she doesn't know it yet. Well, she does. She keeps fighting me on it, but season 3 opener is her on the show. So that
Wow. All
that'll
right.
be. I'm still trying to figure out how to get her on there because she's not. This is not her gig. That's what she says, but she's awesome. Um, but maybe I'll ask that. Maybe I'll get that question put out and uh
I
I
hope you
don't
do.
know.
I hope you
Yeah,
do. All right.
I
All right.
have to get the balls to ask that question.
I'm going to let you dance a little bit here. That's all right because she's going to listen to this podcast.
Yes, she is.
She's going to hear this. So you're like,
Yeah,
anything I say is going to get reviewed later. And okay.
it's the
Okay.
the
I
court of
got you.
Megan
All
is
right.
what it is.
So does Megan know that she is your opening guest for season 3, or is this what your hope is?
she she I think she knows.
Well, she
I've
knows
been telling
now.
her about it. She keeps saying no, but I think she knows.
She's
She
going to know
definitely knows
now.
now.
Okay. Megan, do it. Just go for it. Believe me when
Yep,
I tell you. All right. It's going to be a great experience, and you're going to have so much fun blasting your husband on his own
yep.
podcast. You just go for it. Breathe, take it all in. On my episode 300, I had my two boys on there with me,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
man, they got real and raw on a couple of things, man. I mean, I was like tearing up hard on that podcast,
Yeah,
trying to interview and having it be my actual boys that were giving me the answers and
right.
doing those questions. So it's a whole different thing when it's your wife or your kids and you're talking. So honestly, I don't wish her luck. I wish you luck on that episode.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
because if
much.
your wife opens up like that, man, it's going to be tough for you to, you know, stay straight. But
Yep.
I'm looking forward to hearing it. I'll be looking for that episode now for sure. So
Me too, because I'll probably be just like zoned out trying to figure out how to fix it, and then I'll have to listen to it back again to really hear her
yeah,
as
always a good
we do.
idea.
Yeah.
Always a good idea. Yeah. All right, man. I love that answer though. The sort of non-answer you gave me, and that you're going to go ahead and look into it
I
later.
give you a,
So
s- I mean,
we'll give
I
it to you.
got some perspectives from other women. Like it's just,
It's okay.
I think it's hard, man. I think if you're truly a man after service, I think it's hard to see yourself in that.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I want to be of service to my daughters. I said it in one of the shows I was on. I owe them everything. Like they didn't choose to be here. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I owe them work. I owe them everything that I can possibly get them. So, and that's not spoiling them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I owe them for me to be a good man so
Hmm.
that they can see that and they can feel that and hopefully, find that.
Right. Now, I heard a bunch of your interview episodes. Do you only do interviews or do you do solo episodes yourself also?
I do solo episodes as well. The interview pool got full, and so I love that because
Yeah.
that's where I learn the most. But I do solo interviews, excuse me, solo episodes where I'm processing thoughts,
Okay.
and it actually has been very cathartic because I can like put it out and I have to edit it and then I listen to it and believe it or not, I don't cut that much out. I try not to do that because when I edit the process, because again, my daughters will hear this at some point, right? And I don't want
Mhm.
it to be super polished when I'm by myself on the show. I want them to just be like, oh yeah, that's dad for sure. Like he's a dummy. Like that's him. But I want him to hear that, and I want him to hear it raw from me.
Yeah. Very cool. When we're doing our podcasts, and you put a lot into your podcast, there's a lot of you in that show,
Yeah.
and you're vested in the show. You're not just sitting there going, "So, tell me about your book." You're
Right.
not phoning in your podcasts. And
Yep.
anybody who listens to even one episode can tell that you're emotionally involved in what you're doing. So I get the idea that you're learning from these people, you're giving them
Yeah.
this platform. So I mean, I'm a fan. I like what you're doing.
Thank you.
The When we do our podcast, though, especially the solo ones, but also in the interview ones, very
Mm.
often I think we're talking to somebody, not necessarily the person who's across,
Yeah.
away from us, but we're either trying to make a point, or we're trying to bring out information, or we're trying to convey a message. And in our
Yep.
minds, I really do believe that there's somebody or somebodies that
Yeah.
we're talking to. Are you talking to your daughters? Are you talking to
Mm.
your wife? Who is it that Oscar is talking to when he's doing his podcast?
Dude, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever thought of that until this moment. Um, I think it depends on what I did. I'll give you an example. I did a solo episode a couple months ago, and it was a almost like a anger rant, if you will. There had been a father who sexually molested his own daughter, and I was angry, and it took me legitimately 2 weeks to do that because I knew I wanted to do it. Um, but it took me a couple weeks because I wanted to make sure that there was an actual message, not just right. But I remember the feeling in that was I felt like I was talking to any potential a-hole that would do that to their own daughter. Um, and then also to anybody who has ever questioned their role as a father. I don't I don't know that I was talking to myself because I can't imagine ever doing that. But I was definitely talking to that, right? Another episode I did, I was reviewing um a poem by Maggie Smith, Good Bones. And so I read the poem and then I just thought out loud about it. And it was for me. I was talking to me. I was just trying to see because I had listened to this poem through Ryan Holiday's podcast, and it just like rattled in my head forever. And I was like, "What? Why is this bothering me so much?" And so I read it out loud, and then I kind of riffed on it a little bit, and it was just talking to myself, just my thoughts. And it actually helped a lot because I was able to listen to it a couple times, and then I went on a on another podcast as a guest, and we discussed it, and I was able to actually articulate it a little bit better because I had done that. So it was just that those thoughts out there. So to answer your question, I think I call them thoughts by Oscar when I do, solo podcast. But it just depends on why I'm doing the solo podcast. Like what drove me to do the solo podcast is what tells you who I'm talking to. Um, and I hope that I'm talking to all the dads out there, right? Like that's where I hope. But to your point, I think certain ones are very poignant and some they tend to be for more for me. Like maybe I'm talking to myself, right? Um, but I've never actually thought of that. Maybe that would be a better show if I knew who I was talking to right in that moment.
We don't always know. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't always know. And sometimes it hits us in the middle of the show where you want to make a
right,
point and you want like there have been a lot of shows, for instance, where I've been talking with somebody or about something, and I hit a point where I want my boys to or my daughter to hear something I'm saying.
right.
I want them to hear how I feel about this. And in that moment, I know I'm talking to them. And
Yeah.
I know at some point when they hear this podcast, whenever it is, right, they'll go, wow, that meant something. I know dad was
Yeah.
talking to me right then.
Right.
So it doesn't even have to be all the time or the whole episode, but it's when you're mindful about that. I would love to
Hmm.
hear. I'd love to hear from you, a couple months from now, and see if that impacts anything, with you.
I
But
think it will. I think
I hope
it's a
so.
great question to ask myself before I hit record is
Right on.
who am I talking to here?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. As you have put this whole thing together, whenever we're doing a podcast, it's a labor of love. There's a ton that goes into it.
Yeah.
Nobody who isn't doing a podcast gets the work that goes into a
Yeah.
podcast. So, and I know that you have talked about legacy, and things like that.
Hmm.
What has to occur? What has to happen? What has to be reached for you to look back on your days of podcasting, however long they may be, whether it's 2 years, 15 seasons,
Mm.
a lifetime, for you to say that was a success?
Mm. Honestly, if I can if I can help one dad out there, one dad like come to grips with raising a daughter and know the importance of what that is, not just for that little girl, but for society as a whole, to raise a good human in a good woman. Um, and I get to talk to that dad. I think that would be cool. I think that would be. I would know that I, I won't say that it was a waste of time because, as I mentioned, there's part of me that I just want to leave this for the girls. If no one else listens for 2 years and I have this and I can keep it going, then the girls will get something from me. But truthfully, if I had to put a trophy to it, that would be it, right? That that some dad was a that it made a difference for some dad coming to becoming a father of a daughter, particularly, um, and realize that it's it's not all on us per se. We have the mother and family and whatnot, but it is all on us because we're all that we can control, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that would be kind of a feather on my cap. Um, not the feather, but maybe a feather if that was to help someone.
Very well said, brother. Very well said. And if that's the answer to that question, 9 times out of 10, I think you're going to be successful. So
God willing,
that's exactly how I started, was with that exact same thought.
right?
Help one guy. So
One guy.
I love that, man. Before we start wrapping this up here, I want to make sure we give everybody all sorts of information about how to reach you. So socials, website, give us the stuff and we'll try and make sure it gets in the show notes too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, rudimentary, but there's a website out there. It's called daughteredpodcast.com. It has what I think is all of my stuff in there. But if you don't do that, you can find Daughter Podcast on Instagram at Daughter Podcast. And then you can find me and my knuckle dragging at a underscore growing girl dad. on Instagram. That's mostly where I'm at. We are also on, I think it's X now. I don't know, but we're also on the one thing that had a little birdie on it, at the Daughter Podcast there, as well as on Facebook. I try to keep up with it, man, and I think you mentioned this in one of your shows. I answer all the messages on there, and I greatly appreciate all the messages. So and the feedback that we get on the show. So mostly on Instagram, but I try to get to everything to make sure I don't miss any of you guys out there. That's how they find me, man. Through that, and then yeah, just everything else is on the website. We put everything. I try to put everything on there that is relevant. And what we do have is a newsletter, um, where we put a lot of really hard hitting stuff from all of our episodes, from things that I hear, from things that I learn, and that goes out. And I've gotten very good feedback from that. So if you guys are interested in that, go to the website. The first thing that pops up on the website will ask you to subscribe. I won't send you anything else other than a newsletter, and that's been helping some guys out. That's the feedback I've gotten. So that's what I'll continue to do.
Perfect. All right, I love that, man.
Yes,
That's
sir.
easy. All right, well, I should be able to find you then out there on in social media world. I'll start looking for you today,
I'm in the
folks.
interweb somewhere. Yep.
That's right, folks. Go find Oscar in all these different spots. I mean, if you can't find him on Instagram, X, and Facebook, and you can't find the website, then I don't know how to help you. I really don't.
Well,
I
then
mean,
I'm doing something very, very wrong. If,
that's
if
right.
that's the point.
There's big problems in the
That's
mix if we
right.
can't find you there, brother. All right, I love that. Listen, I love your mission. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Let me give you the chance to kind of wrap up here, man. Is there anything that you want to get out to folks that I didn't ask you? Is there anything that maybe you talked about and you want to go back and double down on,
Mm,
and deliver a message? Or is there just some parting thoughts you want to leave for the audience? I'm going to let you take the last minute or two. Go ahead and wrap up, and whatever's down in that basement, man. Go ahead and get it out.
yeah. There is something. So I've been doing some research, and it says, this is Pew Research. Um, it says that fathers today spend uh, about 53% more time with their children than than before. That sounds great. One thing that I, as I was reading this and kind of thinking through it and doing an introspection, if you will, how much of that time are we actually present? And for me, like I told you earlier, I just wasn't. I wasn't fully present when I first became a father. And then again, uh, in presence wasn't something that I really thought about. And having a job that takes me away from my children and from my wife a lot, it became very apparent that the time I did have, I needed to be present. So with everything out there that tries to take our attention, and it's a lot, we need to figure out how to actually be present in the moment. And if I could give one little tool on how to be present with your children, especially 5, 9 year olds that are just talking for an hour on end, and sometimes we get lost in that. Just stare at them and realize just the magnificent thing that they are. And that's what I started to do. I will stare at their eyes, at their facial mannerisms, and at their mouth as they're talking to me. And I have found that that has really brought me to appreciate them so much more, and then appreciate the time I have with them. So, someone had mentioned it. It's not mine, but you shouldn't leave the house without a kid. Like, if you're driving to the store, if you're going, I was so guilty of it, but I come to realize like those are in those times, that 10-15 minute drive to the store with my 13-year-old, we get so much out of that now. And sometimes it's just listening to music together. And other times I'm getting information that I almost wish I hadn't, but it's there. And
Yeah,
so I'm not talking from a pulpit, brother. I'm in the trench. And I can tell you that that is the thing I'm working the most on, is being actually present, not just physically, but really being present.
love that. Love that, man. You're doing really good work for yourself and for your family, and you're helping other men do that now too. So, power to you, brother.
Thank you.
Folks, husband, father of three, active Air Force, and host of the Daughtered podcast, and very self-aware young man at this point. So, Oscar Pena, Oscar, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for sharing the way you did and for helping to change men's lives on this show and on your own. It means a lot.
Thanks, Rory. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
You got it. Folks, that's been another awesome episode of the Power Man podcast. And the reason that we bring such powerful men on here with such powerful messages is because we are absolutely united in hoping that you find your power so that you can become a better provider, a better protector, a better leader tomorrow than you are today. So that you can become a better husband, a better father, a better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want that for you is because you matter, because you have value. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.